Welcome to SoCo's Q. I'm honored to be here today. This is actually Easter weekend, Saturday right before Easter Sunday. So we're blessed to be here. I hope you like my shirt, backed by popular demand. And it's a very big understatement, but let's move on. On the intro, you've seen exactly what I'll be using as far as sauces and some of the seasonings. So I want you to get a good look at that. There's no secret anything here. You really just are biting off everybody else's ideas. And I'm what you call a sponge when it comes to people's tips and tricks around the grill, and even when it comes to what they use in their sauces. I was even able to pick up one of these beauties a few months ago here in the community. Get a little closer, let you see that. She's a beaut, right? Well, anyway, let's get started. All right, one of the first steps is to get started with your base liquids. At least that's how I do it. You do it how you want to do it if you want to use the same ingredients, but this is just how I start it. A little bit of water. Be distilled, can be purified. Really doesn't matter. Just put something in there clean, preferably. Then you want to throw the white vinegar in there. I have to use white vinegar, unfortunately, because I do have a little bit of apple allergy. I know a couple of y'all are looking at me like, what? Yeah, I know. Apple cider. What a bummer. Love to use that if I could, but hey, it is a little cheaper to use distilled. And here comes the secret ingredient that not many people even know is on the shelf. I do not even know if this is countrywide yet. I know it's here in the South. I'm in North Carolina, central North Carolina at that, pretty close to Fort Bragg. Thanks to all you vets in active duty. Carolina mustard, Texas Pete. Try it. It's great by itself. I mean, you can use it on anything. I do it on ribs by itself very often, but if I'm looking at a little bit more vinegar, a little more movement and flavor, you know, it's got to be put in there. I think once you do it for the first time or just taste it for the first time, I think you'll agree. And I will be using the whole thing because I'm trying to make a really good amount of this for later. Next is the favorite for many when it comes to making most barbecue sauces, at least the base that is simple ketchup. Wonderful starter ingredient to pretty much bomb with anything that you want to use, and it works well. A lot of people, they'll just put, you know, your normal barbecue sauces and stuff like that and kind of modify from there. But I'm a firm believer in using a healthy portion. I would say I don't do a lot of using of these. It's normally by the eye because as you're whipping it around and mixing it up, you're going to be tasting it from time to time. You know, obviously you want to clean your spoon because other people's going to be eating it. But as you do that, you can kind of see where it's going and what you're looking for as far as the vinegar, the sweetness, the spiciness, and we'll get to that. But start off, I'd say, with, if you want to be real technical with it, probably about that right there. Just a nice amount. I don't even know what the amount is. 2/3 a cup. Next is an old favorite. I think all y'all can agree. Sweet Baby Ray's. When I first got started in just grilling, basic grilling, this was a staple. Every one of my buddies and family members had this in their refrigerators and cupboards, and then they started getting kind of wild with the different flavor options and so forth. And then, yeah, I'm not real sure when this came out, but I tell you, this works really well by itself, just as the Texas Pete does. But when you put this with it, had that element of sweetness with the brown sugar and the hickory mix, that's it helps bring this particular concoction to life for sure. Once again, we're going to use roughly about 3/4 a cup. All right, so now that we've put most of our base ingredients into the thicker ketchup, the thicker Sweet Baby Ray's, the thicker Texas Pete, Carolina mustard, on top of the distilled vinegar and the little bit of water mixture there at the bottom, because we want to get that perfect consistency that I'm looking for. We'll see that toward the end. Obviously, that's going to come together. I just now put it up to a level 2, which is relatively lower heat, but still, if it's on long enough, can bring it to a boil. I think most of you know that's watching this video and done any kind of work on an oven with any type of heat up mixtures and oodles and noodles or whatever. But it takes a while to get to that point. But 2 is a perfect for the thickness and to get it to where it's not quite to a bubble. But once it starts to get warm, and we know it's getting warm, that's when we're going to start adding some of these wonderful mixtures that just makes this thing come to life, you know, for lack of a better term. So let's see what happens. All right, so these next few seasonings are going to be, our sauces are going to be more just drips, just teaspoon here, teaspoon there, so it doesn't overpower what we've already done, where they blend properly. And then as you get toward the end and everything starts to mesh together, you'll be able to taste it, clean your spoon, taste it again, and go from there and find out what you're looking for, and also read the crowd if anybody's going to be eating your food with that specific sausage you've made, because we'll bring an element of heat in there on top of that sweetness and that tartness and that mustardy base and the ketchup and the vinegar, and that'll be something we have to pay attention to, because not everybody likes, the heat, or levels of heat that I personally do. So starting off first with the liquid smoke. It's a crowd favorite. It can be overpowering, so you have to be really, really, really easy with it, because that's just what it's for. Obviously, we're not cooking today. We're making the sauce, so just a few drips. You don't want to be overwhelming with this at all. Any of y'all that's used this knows that you can be, but it's a great tool in the cooking toolbox. All right, now we've got to the point where it's time to add this mechanism here. I know we added white vinegar in the beginning, but I wanted to add this specific vinegar, red wine, during the process of after everything's been warmed. So it blends with some of the other stuff like the liquid smoke we just added and some other things that are coming. So you're not going to put a lot of this, just like the liquid smoke. About the same amount, just a couple drips here and there to your liking. You'll taste later while you're making it, if you notice, because there's an element of sweetness to it. So you don't want to change anything you've done up to this point and then what you're doing afterwards from this point on. Now, you don't have to do this in this order. You can do it in any order you want. Just try that starting foundation of the water, the vinegar, the ketchup, and the Sweet Baby Ray's. And I think it'll blend better. And after that, you can kind of go in your own chronological order from that point on. So, yeah, it's good stuff. All right, here we have something I think everybody's going to be extremely apparent with. I mean, how long's that stuff been around, right? Goodness. It's a place in like Massachusetts, I believe. But either way, this is another just drip seasoning sauce that we're using to make this thing extremely dynamic. I mean, you can go a little bit heavier on this because it's going to blend really well with all the other stuff that we put in. And as far as like the other sauces, the thicker ones, it's not going to overpower it. I used it in the beginning, and it's just been a staple ever since. You may or may not just use it at all and not know the difference, but I'm going to use it, and I recommend you do too. All right, here's something most people would probably be like, why? They'd be like, are you serious? This is what you're putting in it? But most people will use something citrusy or lemony or something along those lines, and I'm kind of going that direction, but with a little bit of twist. And this was all the rage, a few years ago, and in a lot of cases is, and I put it in the barbecue sauce I made. Mango Nectar. I know you pass by in the aisles of the grocery stores and stuff, you go day to day, but I used it in the beginning just to have a little element of something different. And whether it's the magic that makes it so wonderful, I don't know. I think the whole blend of everything is the magic, but I think it's a very key element, and try it. That's the only advice I can give you at this point. All right, so now we've come to the final stage, and you'll see why this is the final stage, because you wouldn't want to add this at any other time, neither one of these two ingredients. The second one I've really not used but a few times. Early on I haven't used it at all, but the one I'm about to put in it has been used every time. Depending on whether I'm eating beef or pork, specifically pulled pork, wet pulled pork. I love a Texas style pulled pork, and but if I'm doing the vinegar, base, the saucy version, like we're doing this evening, I add the red pepper flake. And most of y'all probably do too, or you buy a product that has red pepper flake in it. And I wouldn't, if you're eating pork specifically, I would not go without it. So this is what we were talking about earlier, as far as like being, not necessarily concise on the ingredient level that you put in as far as the red pepper flake, but who are you serving it to? Like if you're just feeding it to your family, and your family has a specific palate that's similar to yours, you know exactly how much to put in it. And if friends or family are coming over, you might need to back it down a little bit if you're making it specifically for a certain cook. or if you're going to use it or offer it, you know how to warn them. So I'm just going to put what I'm used to, and then this is where you can be as flamboyant with the ingredient as you like. So yeah, you can make this portion of it your own, or the whole thing for that matter. But sometimes it gets a little jammed up. So I love a little heat with all that sweet, and it ain't that sweet, but when you mix that vinegar, the brown sugaries, and you add this, I mean, it's just it really is a match made in heaven. No pun intended on Easter weekend, right? Onion powder. I have not used this but a few times. The times I did, I thought it added a little element. It was very, very, it wasn't extremely obvious as to what it done. This is a very layer flavored sauce, and you can use this or not. It doesn't hinge upon how good it is, but I like layers. Just like when we're smoking meats and stuff, I love dynamic flavors, and I'm sure you do too. That's probably why you're watching this. So, well, it's time to taste. Let's see. Here's the hit on the backside. That has the heat I'm looking for, and in some cases it might be a little too much heat for some people. And so I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually tame this down briefly, just to show you how you do that, without it being, just in case you're serving some people and you want them to taste your special sauce, or just a sauce that you tried or wanted to put together on your own, and you chose this one. I'm gonna go back to this. It's liquid enough to where we can dab of water, no issue whatsoever, and we can add an element of that hickory and brown sugar back into the mix. And I'm not going to keep taste testing it for you until I think it's perfect. I'm just telling you that stay with the foundation and then make it work. Know what ingredients do what. Taste them before you put them in if you're not fully engaged with using them or have used them in the past in any capacity. So do not keep them on extreme heat whatsoever, or anywhere close to anything over 2 for any length of time. If you cover it even on 2 or even inside of 2 to 1 on most standard ovens on the highs, it will boil if it's on long enough. But on low, you should be fine. As long as it wasn't already extremely hot prior, it won't boil on a low setting. That's why it might take a little more time getting up to heat, but it's really not that much more time. Do something, go outside, pop a top, whatever, fill in the yard, come back in, it's ready, whatever. But this is an extremely good barbecue sauce. All right, so now we have the sauce covered, and it's basically in the low simmer phase, but not really. It's just heated and lowering to where I can put it into the container we're going to use to distribute it onto whatever it is that we cook in the next few days or weeks. And it'll keep that long as you keep it in the right apparatus. But I appreciate you joining me. This is the first video I've done, and we did it on sauce instead of food. I know that's a little bit different than most channels that you watch for cooking or anything smoking related, and we'll get to those. And that's basically where I got started, is watching those channels like Malcolm Reed and Cooking with Rye and all those other, I mean, fabulous people that are so generous with their tips and tricks and their time. I mean, let's just face it. Now, they did a good job with it, and they're making money behind it, but they had to start somewhere. I just want to let you know that's not why I'm here. That's not why I'm doing this. I just wanted to offer something that worked for me as far as for taste and putting a smile on people's faces when they eat the food that you produce. And it has nothing to do with making any profits. Just maybe helping somebody else out down the road with putting a smile on someone else's face. And that's really what it's all about, right? When you cook it. Family. Happy Easter, and God bless you all. Cory out with Soco's Q. Have a great day.